The WNBA recently lost its golden ticket, and you won't believe it. The superstar who was tasked with saving women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, is packing her bags and leaving for Europe.
There could be a team overseas who would love to snatch Caitlin Clark away from us and give her a crazy offer.
Can you imagine what this means for the league? Ticket prices are crashing, viewership is plummeting, and now everyone's wondering if the WNBA can even survive without her.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces-Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. However, that was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
This is when things start to get really wild, though. The league MVP, A'ja Wilson, is sitting there observing how quickly her own worth depreciates. It's really tough for this franchise. The fact that so many people want to destroy you makes it extremely difficult. I have awards and championships, but now no one seems to care, must be what she's thinking. The WNBA seems to have been left reeling after Clark stepped in and took all the limelight. You must observe the way this is upending the women's basketball community as a whole. This season has been the most challenging for A'ja Wilson. Caitlin Clark's appearance prevented her from receiving the credit she was due, which is evidence that her life is 10 times more difficult than it should be. I believe she has won the league's MVP award 3 times. She has 2 titles under her belt. The University of South Carolina has a statue of her. Have we not celebrated A'ja Wilson enough? Have you made her life 10 times more difficult? Caitlin Clark's entry into the WNBA was not only significant, it was a game-changing event. The whole league. Women's basketball went from being a niche sport to being a must-watch TV show overnight because to this rookie phenomenon. We're talking arenas that are completely packed out, gear that is flying off the shelves more quickly than you can say buckets, and TV numbers that made network executives gasp and infuriated athletes like A'ja Wilson. The best player in women's basketball that no one pays attention to is A'ja Wilson, the WNBA MVP. The problem is that all of that exhilaration came at a high cost. The WNBA threw all their eggs into one basket in an attempt to leverage Clark's star power. For a while, it worked like magic as they promoted her as the league's face, the saving grace of women's basketball, and the key to mainstream success. All I know is that attendance decreased when they were ousted from the playoffs. The ratings fell. Since they say, oh, it's the oh God, and it's this and that I wouldn't need to know today, what is the rationale now and why? When Clark's jersey first appeared in stores, you should have witnessed the flurry. It was competing with NFL superstars for sales, in addition to outselling other WNBA merchandise. The Dallas Cowboys are outperformed by a women's basketball jersey. Is that even possible for you to comprehend? When it comes to her influence on female sports, Caitlin Clark is still setting the standard. Fanatics, led by none other than Michael Rubin, claim that she has one of the best-selling jerseys in all of sports. It appears that every size of Clark's Indiana Fever jersey is sold out. She reportedly sold more Dallas Cowboy jerseys than anybody else. The WNBA's dependence on Clark revealed a significant flaw in their strategy. It seemed as though someone had perpetrated a prank on the entire process when she left the playoffs sooner than anticipated. All of those fair-weather supporters who joined the Clark craze abruptly vanished more quickly than a defensive player attempting to block her three-point attempt. Then explain to me why she left. Does the old guard continue to observe? I see why these fans are there if the WNBA is greater. Why is no one observing? You're claiming that since Fever was removed, the ratings have decreased. Yes, pay attention to the crowds when the Fever play your favorite team and when they don't. How much money is the WNBA actually losing without Caitlin Clark, you ask? It's not pretty, let me tell you. Here we are discussing the possibility of a financial collapse. The league is in severe financial trouble without Clark's star power to boost ticket sales, TV ratings, and retail sales. I was really shocked to see seats at the Target Center in Minnesota for as little as $10 because tickets get more and more expensive as the team advances through the playoffs. Seats that are very close to courtside are selling for $65 on StubHub. For $60, you can sit immediately behind the female Suns bench. When you consider that one player has the power to make or ruin your entire financial model, you've got an issue. The WNBA placed so much faith in Clark's ability to attract fans and increase viewership that they neglected to establish a long-term framework for the league as a whole. Without their golden goose, they are now frantically trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. I discovered that the Target Center's upper bowls were not accessible on StubHub this morning. They can't sell the darn seats in the lower bowl. So I wonder why they're not selling tickets in those sections. This is where things start to get interesting, though. Clark's influence extended beyond financial gain. She gave women's basketball a level of enthusiasm and visibility that the WNBA had long hoped for. She caused those who had never seen a women's game before to pay attention. The league is facing a moment of truth now that she is traveling to Europe. It appears that she will likely earn more money in the EuroLeague abroad than she did in the WNBA this season. Will the WNBA be able to function without Caitlin Clark? Right now, that is the most important question that everyone is asking. The league is at a turning point, and what they decide to do next could determine whether women's professional basketball in America survives or fails. They must figure out how to market their other stars, keep fans interested, and develop a viable economic model that doesn't depend on one person to keep everything running smoothly. Prior to Caitlin, there were about 5,000 people present. She has sold out every game this year since Caitlin. That's a roughly 10,000 ticket increase for each game. The average cost of a ticket has increased to over $100. That means that each game may cost $1 million. Therefore, $14 million is the result of multiplying that by 14 home games. And that's without taking anything else into account. The loss of Caitlin Clark is not the only aspect of the WNBA's issue. It's revealing deep-seated fractures throughout the league. Imagine being at the peak of your abilities and having your entire legacy stolen by a beginner. A'ja Wilson is experiencing just that, and women's basketball is feeling the impact of her response. WNBA MVP A'ja Wilson was caught on camera pointing to her finger while discussing her white privilege with teammate Caitlin Clark. Imagine yourself as A'ja Wilson, the WNBA champion, 3-time MVP, and the league's face for many years. You've worked hard, earned recognition, and cultivated a career that most athletes can only imagine. All of that seems to be irrelevant all of a sudden. It's all due to one rookie, Caitlin Clark. I mean, look, I'd like to feel a bit sorry for Miss Wilson. After all, people were genuinely watching her play basketball for the first time in a long time. Therefore, the additional pressure of the larger audience undoubtedly played a role. Wilson isn't merely letting Clark take center stage. She is also observing her when she accepts the paychecks. Isn't the disparity in income between these two astounding? In the WNBA, Wilson may make up to $230,000. With her new deal in Europe, Clark may earn millions of dollars, even more than Diana Taurasi did when playing in Russia. It's enough to cause anyone to reevaluate their professional decisions. WNBA players now frequently play overseas during their offseason after participating in the regular season. This is something that has been going on for the WNBA's whole existence. There was also a year in 2015 when Diana Taurasi played in Russia instead of the WNBA. Furthermore, it was never explicitly stated that she did not play in the WNBA because Russia essentially stipulated in their contract that she would not be allowed to play there. However, everyone assumed that was the case because Russia at the time paid Diana Taurasi a salary of $1.5 million to play in Russia. One may assume that an MVP would be immune to small-time jealousy. Rethink your thought. When she recently declared, "I don't want to be great for you guys," Wilson became quite irritated. That isn't only a casual remark. It demonstrates the extent of this gap. It is my intention to be the best when I go out there. I do not wish to be excellent for you all. This is where things start to get interesting, though. Wilson is more than simply angry. Her entire career is being questioned. Imagine being the greatest of the best at a sport by putting your all into it. And then observing as a newcomer receives all the financial benefits, all the publicity, and all the attention. It's enough to make anyone doubt themselves. This kind of thinking is beyond my comprehension. I don't believe it, as you mentioned. It doesn't fit the times we live in. In addition, I believe that the worst thing it fosters is not only a sense of victimization, but also jealousy. Additionally, you are never grateful for where you are because you are constantly saying, well, I would be even more grateful if I were only white. Furthermore, celebrity and wealth are not the only factors. Wilson sees the threat to her entire heritage. All of those endorsement agreements and public appearances are currently being scrutinized. Now, according to some observers, Wilson's marketability has suffered as a result of Clark's developing star status. Stop Asia Hate ought to be a hashtag right now. Although it's incredible, this is the issue that many people have with Caitlin Clark's friends and admirers. It doesn't appeal to them. Additionally, I will reiterate this point. The fact that some of the most ardent Caitlin Clark fans are non-white is one of the more intriguing features of this fandom. In reality, they are black men. That has turned into something that is problematic for them, you know. What is A'ja Wilson's response to Clark taking center stage? She is definitely not taking it lightly. The league is being rocked by Wilson's response, and what she's saying will surprise you. She is drawing attention to the disparities, questioning the established quo, and making everyone examine the WNBA's player values closely. This is beyond my comprehension. Many of these people, such as Asians, are so accustomed to being able to impose and administer white guilt that they become unable of handling it when others don't comply, actually. Therefore, I think it's fascinating that people are leaving and that the television numbers show who is supporting it. This has turned into Jason. And let me know if you concur or not. The sporting equivalent of gentrification and white flight is the decline in NBA playoff ratings following Caitlin Clark. When they are here, you detest it. You dislike having them around. God, oh God. Take a look at their actions. They're terrible. After then, they depart from the Caitlin flight. God, oh God. This goes beyond Wilson vs. Clark. It concerns the WNBA's overall organization. When its well-known players feel underappreciated, can a league still thrive? What happens if everyone else is eclipsed by the next big thing? WNBA execs are up at night wondering these questions. This is the risk of this league, which is based on irate, lesbian feminists, and social justice. The next big item won't happen overnight. It has a European accent and is already here. You believe it was a stomach punch when Clark left for the playoffs? Await the news of Europe's full-court press featuring WNBA stars. What would happen if the best players in the league decided that America was no longer the country of opportunity? Because they don't make enough money during the WNBA season to support themselves at the level they desire to throughout the year. Half of the WNBA is currently playing in a foreign league. They are now participating in a rival league. And a few guys dabbling in international seas is not what we're talking about. With WNBA players packing their bags faster than you can say, fast break, this is a full-on exodus. Is it not unbelievable? Like sand through an hourglass, the league that was once thought to be the best in women's basketball is seeing its talent dwindle. And with players being able to profit from brand deals and other things, and their fame growing, there may be more of these privately owned EuroLeague clubs in the future. Some of these teams might target some of our top WNBA players, in my opinion. We might lose more players if the financial and business aspects make sense. You may be wondering why these players would quit the WNBA. It's easy. These athletes can't ignore the fact that money talks and that Europe speaks a language. Consider yourself Caitlin Clark putting in endless hours for a maximum pay of almost $230,000. Then you see contracts worth millions of dollars across the pond. How would you respond? She was informed by the commissioner that she may earn $700,000. By participating in the WNBA and promoting various products, even the best paid player in the WNBA presently earns just over $200,000. So I'm not sure what Kathy was referring to. Furthermore, I'm not sure what the WNBA does with their marketing budget, but it's not going to amount to $700,000. This is when things start to get really wild, though. The salary isn't the only consideration. These athletes are seeking respect and opportunities, two things that the WNBA finds difficult to deliver. Women's basketball is not an afterthought in Europe. Players feel like celebrities thanks to the media attention, fervent spectators, and crowded arenas of this major tournament. Additionally, Caitlin Clark is not feeling accepted by the WNBA. An absurd offer. In less than 10 games, Ice Cube was going to offer her $5 million to play.